Hey Bree, let's have a chat about the wave that you sent me. So I want you to look at both clips. So let's first look at the top of screen and just notice where my surfboard is pointing. Okay, that's really, really important because we're going to talk about the smile here. Now, essentially, the smile arc is this smile like that indicates where we're going to do the bottom turn. What it allows me to do, by the time I come through here, I can change my surfboard's direction to be pointing more north. And when I say north, I mean up high on the wave. Okay, so that's really important in the context of creating a maneuver. Over here, down the bottom of screen, we've got you with this really sort of horizontal smile, which doesn't allow for enough time for you to change directions with your surfboard to actually start going up in this direction here. Okay, and that's important because when we do our maneuver, we want to actually be pushing against the lip of the wave. So you can see this zone up here, and actually this is another conversation, but this zone here is our ideal maneuver section. Okay, whereas if we're pushing our maneuver, and I'll get rid of all this, if we're pushing our maneuver here on the flats and coming back this way, we're not going to have much to push against because this area of water here is quite weak. It's not steep, it doesn't have a lip, and it makes it really hard for us to engage our heel side rail. Okay, purely you'll know how unstable it feels within a maneuver to be trying to do that cutback along here. So essentially, even though you have this really nice turn here, this position is really good. And if we were to draw it as an arc, we would draw it like this, just following your line there. But ideally, that position is much more impactful and powerful performed over here. So if you're in that same position about here, you'd actually be sending out spray off the back of the wave, which is aesthetically pleasing. It's also going to turn you a lot faster. So your arc is going to be a lot quicker through here. And you're going to be able to turn with more torque and pressure into your surfboard because you've actually got something to push against. Up on the top side of screen, we can see that exemplified with this angle here. So if we look at the starting angle of both turns, they're quite different. That way versus that way. Okay, so that's essentially the difference between that sort of intermediate approach and a more advanced approach. So what I want you to do is to think about that line, a more advanced approach, when you take off on the wave. I want you to think about creating a steeper smile, what we would call it. So actually doing your maneuvers in this sort of arc instead of in this stretched out arc like that. And that's going to make the maneuvers easier, paradoxically. And it's also going to make the turns a lot bigger and more poignant and more enthralling, a little bit more significant. So that'll be really exciting as well. If we look at the actual bottom turn technique, let's have a look here. See how we sort of missed that neutral position as well? So what we're looking for there, if you watch the top side of screen, watch my right arm, so my trailing arm, and see it hover over the face of the wave here, and that allows me to get onto the toes because I'm naturally leaning when I'm hovering that hand over the face of the wave. This is going to enable you to create that steeper smile. You're going to be able to touch the wave. That gets you onto the toes. See that toe side rail engagement. Then I want you to extend and pull up the wave face. So the really important part there is to get into neutral, and neutral being this back arm here, starting the maneuver behind you. That's really important because it can then come here and go around within the maneuver. So it can go woof within the maneuver. Whereas if that arm starts here, then it can only go from there to there. There's less torque that it's able to generate. So it's, again, a much less powerful maneuver. And it's like riding a bike. The faster you ride, the more grip, to an extent, right? The more it's called gyroscopic stability you're going to have on the surfboard, so you can actually push through that turn a lot tighter than drawing it out nice and long here. Okay, so those are the two things that I would look at, and they're linked together. Create a steeper smile, trying to do your turns in this sort of arc instead of this sort of arc. And I want you to work on that neutral position. So looking for that right arm, hovering that right arm over the face of the wave, touching the face of the wave, so grabbing onto the face of the wave, pulling and extending into neutral. That's that back arm behind you. Then you can go through your maneuver in that steeper sort of smile. Okay, I've got some really good technique stickers on my website that can remind you of this. You just stick them on your board. They're transparent, they're super subtle, and that's a good way to remember what's happening. Anyway, I hope this video helped. I'll chat to you later.